Welcome already on the 4th episode of deck tutorials on Wargame Red Dragon. Thank you for watching this. I'm Arctomian of Team Pro Pixel, and this 4th episode we're gonna take a look at the Bluefor tank part, and we're gonna compare them. And of course, like I said before in episode 1, 2 and 3, we will be making at the end of the entire stuff, we're gonna make a deck together and see how that deck turns out based on what we just created in all the tutorials before. So let's get started. I'll make another deck. Here we go. Wait, create. Let's call this deck again test. Here we go. We'll take no bonuses. You know what? We can take bonuses actually. Motorized recon vehicle, no. Armored. Alright, so let's take the armored bonus, and that gives us some extra tank options as well. So here we go. There's only tanks that we need to concerned about, so there's nothing else in the tank support part than tanks. So this will probably be a very short tutorial. But we'll definitely highlight everything that we're gonna need in order to check up on what kind of tanks that you want to have. Now, usually what I do with tanks is I'll take low cost tanks, I'll take medium cost tanks, and I'll take high cost tanks. Nowadays we notice that in Wargame Red Dragon we don't use that much tanks anymore, simply because of the naval that's in the game, and tanks are kind of redundant at the moment, so everybody goes either air or naval, and infantry of course. And the tank is a little bit of the black sheep now in Wargame Red Dragon, but it's still very useful to deploy tanks. It's just not very useful anymore to deploy them with entire platoons of 12 or something like that. You just want to deploy them here and there in the bush to ambush. Now, there are a couple of things that we need to think about with the tanks. Of course, first of all, the main gun, secondary gun, and the YAV gun. The armor on it is very important as well. So the toe armor on the front, on the sides, on the back, and on the top against airplanes. And of course, the accuracy on everything, the suppression on everything, the HE power and the HP power on everything. It's speed off-road, it's speed on the road, and it's optics. Now, let's get started. We're gonna pick the heavy tanks first. I usually like to do that. I know there are a couple of them. I know there, for instance, we're gonna have to look at the points that we're gonna have. The maximum amount of points is the 155 Abram. The Leopard 2A4 for 145, and let me see, the Challenger, if I'm correct, yeah, the Challenger 1 MK3 for 155 points. And those are pretty much the options that you have between the heavy tanks for heavy spending points. We'll take a look at the other tanks for lower points though. So first of all, let's see which is the best tank in Wargame Red Dragon. So that's not the right one. We're starting off with the American M1A1 Abrams. This is the Tusk, of course, which has a 122mm round with times 25. Its range on the ground, which is also significant when picking a tank, is 2275. Its accuracy is 55%. As you can see, its stabilizer is 55%. Its AP power and stabilizer, by the way, is the chance to score a direct hit while this tank is moving. The AP power is 19, so it's a very high damage tank. HE power is pretty good as well to non-armor targets, and the suppression on it is 138. That's damage dealt to enemy units moral, so enemies will rout or do other stuff regarding that. The rate of fire is 10 rounds per minute, so that's actually pretty good. If you look at the other Browning, the offense are rarely used, but you're gonna have to work against infantry because usually infantry goes up against tanks, trying to scout them out. So the range on that is 1,000 meters, so that's 1 kilometer. The helicopter is actually 875 meters, which looks very good, but in reality actually is crappy because by the time the helicopter sees it, the tank is dead for or gone or anyway. HE power is pretty good and suppression is pretty good. Its rate of fire is pretty bad, and the same counts for the M240, which is 600 RM, and suppression on it all is pretty good as well. Don't expect it to fight against ground or helicopter units, which is pretty weird though. Why would you have a very bad ground range on this one? Alright, well, fair enough. It goes 60 kilometers an hour off-road, it's going 110 kilometers on-road, and of course we're gonna have to look at the frontal armor. Now the frontal armor is 20, which is very high. However, the side armor is 8, and the back armor is 4, and the top armor is 4, so those are pretty bad, but you won't get any better out of a tank in Wargame Red Dragon. Next up, the Leopard 2A4. The German tank, it also got a 120mm, it's got 30 rounds however, and it's got a higher range. Higher than the, no, it's same range as the Tusk, so the Abram. However, the accuracy is 50%, and if I'm correct, the accuracy on the Abram is 55%, but then again it's 10 points more expensive. Stabilizer is 45%. AP power is 19, HP power is 3, so that's all lowered for 1 point. Suppression is pretty good, 10 rounds a minute. It's got 19 frontal armor. Sides it got 9, which is a little bit better. And on the back it's got 4, and on the top it's got 3. Then the off-road is 70, and the on-road is 110 as well. And it only got 1 secondary weapon, which is the MG3. And as you can see, that's pretty crappy as well. Now the question is, what do you rather want to have? If you were up against a Leopard 2A4 or an Abrams, and I know that Wargamer Land Battle, the Leopard actually raped the T80, but in this particular case I would definitely go for the Abrams sooner, because it's 10 points more, but you get slightly better speed and a little bit slightly better stats, but a little bit less speed. So I would definitely take the Abrams above the Leopard. Now the last one, of course, that we're gonna have to check up is the Challenger. And here we go. That's the Challenger, 155 points, just like the Abrams is. And the Challenger actually is pretty good as well, except for its anatomy is a little bit lower. Same range, accuracy is 5% higher than the Abrams. Stabilizer is the same, AP power is actually 2 points higher. So let me see. Yeah, it's 2 points higher. And it's 1 point higher on HP power. Suppression is the same. It only shoots 7 rounds a minute though, but that's not bad. And the offhand weapon is pretty crappy as well. It's still got the frontal armor on 20, and it's got a side armor of 11, which is pretty important when you're up against infantry. So if you look at what you have to choose between that with 6 on the back and 4 on the top, then the best option that you're gonna have as a tank spending without any prototypes or anything at all whatsoever, it is gonna be the British Challenger for the same points that the Abram is. It's just slightly better, and the accuracy on it is way better as well. So let's take the Challenger. That's your number one tank. That's the most expensive one. Just for shifts and giggles, let's see how much you get from the Abram. You get 4 from the Abram, but you only get 3 from the Challengers. I will still take the Challengers anytime, since I don't want to build up a tank platoon. Alright, so medium tanks. We got a couple of medium tanks that we can choose out of. Mainly the Chieftain, which is 80 points. We're gonna lower around 60 points lower. We're gonna have the Chieftain. We're gonna have the K1, which is 110 points. Oh, I forgot almost one of them. Before I actually said that the Challenger was winning actually, I nearly forgot the Kiyu Marishiki, which is also 122mm round, 60% accuracy, 60 of them, 10 rounds, 20 rounds, 9 on the side. That's actually worse than the Challenger is, if I'm correct, right? Yeah, that's worse than the Challenger is. It's got lower HE power, but it's got slightly higher AP power and slightly higher accuracy. It's also got a better offhand weapon. You know, this is a tricky one. And it shoots 10 rounds a minute. Alright, well, fair enough. I think that Kiyomari, that's only 560 points, right? So, Challenger is 155. Kiyumarushiki is 160. Actually, guys, for the side armor being 2 points lower and HE power being 1 point lower and there's a way better offhand, the Challenger is actually not the best one. The best one that you can have is the Kiyumarushiki. So, there you have it. It's even got higher off-road speed. And it's got fuel economy higher, if I'm correct. No, it doesn't have a higher fuel economy though. But the Kiyomari Shiki is the best tank that you can have. So well, you know, it's kind of logical as well. It's a 160 point tank though. So that's if you're gonna have to spend out, you get 3 of those as well. The Kiyomaru Shiki is definitely the best tank that you can have in the game at the moment, stats wise. But of course, that's my opinion. If you feel like you want to be, or you're British and you want to show your loyalty to Queen and Country, you can always take the Challenger as well. It's a very good substitute for that. Alright, so what I was talking about, the Chieftain, 80 points of course. The Brennus for 75 points. The Leopard 1A5 for, you can't see, 70 points. What else do we have? And the STRV 103 Swedish Sea for 95 points. And then that's pretty much where you come up against. And of course you're gonna have to take the Leopard M1 M1 Abrams or the Abram M1 into account as well as the Leopard 2. And I think the Challengers were way more expensive than that. We can compare them though, but it's not quite in the same point range. So let's take a look at the Brennus first. The Brennus French, it's got a 105mm round, 60% accuracy. It's got AP power 16, which is pretty good for a tank of this point range, 75 points. 7 rounds a minute, only got 11 frontal armor, 5 on the sides, 2 on the back and 2 on the top. It goes quite fast, off-road 70 kilometers, 110 kilometers on the road. It's got 2 offhand weapons. The right one, so the M693, actually does look good, but has a very low accuracy and a very low rate of fire. So this actually in reality does do shit. And NF1, which has a very high accuracy and 600 rounds a minute, which is quite poorly as well. But then again, it's just a 75 point tank. So yeah, that's the French Brennus. Let's take a look at our next competitor. Let me see. There's the Chieftain. And the Chieftain is has a 122mm, so that's the same as the Challenger and the Leopards. It does have an AP power of 2 points less. So yeah, this is basically, in a nutshell, a Challenger scaled down for the point that you're gonna spend. So let's see. Its frontal armor is 14 though, but this is an 80 point tank. It's 5 points more than the Brennus. and it only got one offhand weapon, which has better accuracy but still has low rate of fire. However, its off-road speed is crappy, and its on-road speed, of course, being pretty good. Side armor is pretty good, so at the moment, the Chieftain MK2 actually wins of the Brennus. Alright, next up is slightly more expensive, is the K1. I'm a very big fan of the Japanese K1, or the South Korean K1, sorry, the Japanese didn't have a K1. It's got a 105mm, it's got slightly less than the Chieftain, of course. It's got a significant reduced AP power. Accuracy is 45%, is that better than the... no, that's worse actually than the M Chieftain. 10 rounds a minute, suppression is pretty good, HE power is pretty good. It's got 17 frontal armor, so its survivability on the frontal is better. It's got side armor of 7, 4 and 3. Its off-road speed is higher, so that's 70. And its road speed on it being 110. Let's take a look at the off weapons. The M2 Browning is actually quite okay, not bad. And the M240 is actually quite good as well regarding accuracy and rate of fire wise. But if I have to choose between the two of them, and this is just a recent discovery for me, I would definitely still take the Chieftain though. Chieftain is just better in the AP power, and you're bringing a tank to take out other armor tanks, so you want to have a maximum amount of AP power and accuracy. It's a shame that the speed, the off-road speed, is a little bit less, but you know what? I don't give a shit. It's gonna be in there anyway. So what's the next one? Let's see. Actually, the 70-point Leopard 1A5 is the next one. It's got a 105 as well, 40% accuracy, so that's definitely lower than the British Chieftain. It's got an AP power only 15, HE power also 3, suppression of 121, it only shoots 1 round a minute more. It's got a crappy offhand with a high accuracy though. Oh, actually this is not good, I'll get to that in a moment. So the frontal armor is on 10, that's reasonable. Sides only are 3 on 3 and 2, so it's very vulnerable against air attacks, that includes helicopters. Its speed off-road is 65 km and its on-road 110 km. Now if we compare this with the Chieftain, before we're gonna do that, I'm gonna go over the offhand weapon. The offhand is actually 30%, which is very good, it's on its maximum. And the rate of fire is 1000 bullets a minute, which is very good as well. It does not look that good over here, but it is very good. So let's take a look at the stats of the Chieftain. You know what, for 10 points, this is a difficult one. No, I'm gonna definitely have to go with the Chieftain here. The AP power is just too vital in order to take out. By the time that this Leopard 1A5 can take out one target, this Chieftain could have already taken out maybe 2. So I'll definitely take the Chieftain over the Leopard 1A5. Alright, so what's the next one? The Leopard 2. Leopard 2 is definitely a very good one, and that's the competitor for the Chieftain. It's 15 points more expensive. It's got a 122mm as well, but the AP power on it is lower. The accuracy is significantly lower, like 15%. And the suppression on it is higher though, and it shoots 2 rounds more. Its speed is more, and its frontal armor is more. If you have to go for survivability, the Leopard 2 would actually be the best option for it. However, if you look down at the Chieftain, its frontal armor is only 14. So you know what? The Chieftain still wins it off the Leopard 2. The next one is the Abrams. And the Abrams got the 105mm, the M1. Its accuracy is 40%, so that's 10% less. And this tank is about the same price, if I'm correct, as the Chieftain. Yeah, it is. Alright, it's got the same price as the Chieftain. However, stabilizer is piss poor. It shoots 10 rounds a minute, and its HE power and the suppression on it is quite poor as well, as the AP power is not even putting a dent in the higher end tanks. So 70 kilometers off-road and 110 kilometers on-road. The M1 is definitely not optional. If you look at the front armor, it's only 1 point more than the Chieftain. 6, 3 and 3. So the Chieftain still wins it off the Abram 1A1. But here comes the next tank. And this is gonna be the interesting one. This is gonna surprise everybody. We'll get to the Swedish line. 95, 15 points more. You get the Swedish tank that was specially designed for Swedish terrain. It's got a 105mm and its accuracy is only 5% less than the Chieftain. However, its frontal armor is 13.0 and 50 kilometers off-road. Road speed is 110 kilometers. Its AP power is significantly reduced. But it does have a very, very, very good 7.62 round KSP. Now, if I have to compare the both of them, on all of them, for the 80 pointers, around the 80 pointers, I'm definitely going to say that the Chieftain wins by far. Simply because of the AP power versus the accuracy, versus the HE power, versus the rate of fire. Well, that might be a little bit crappy though. But its armor is pretty much the same, and the side armor is significantly higher. You won't get any better side armor on an 80 point tank than this. So the Chieftain wins it definitely for me. Of course, if you have another opinion, then let me know underneath and point it out to me so we can all learn from it. Next up, let me see, is the 60 pointers, around the 60, the 50 and the 60, the 50 and the 70 pointers. So we got a couple of options here. Let me see. The 65, we got a Leopard A51 Plus. The Australians specially made that for their army. And let me see, what else do we have? We got a Chieftain MK10. Now 60. We got a Leopard 1A4 for 50 points. We got the Leopard 1A3 OK for the Danish. The Norwegian Leopard 1A1 and O for the Norwegians. Let me see. We got a Canadian Leopard C1. And we got a Patton, of course, very much played, for 60 points. And we got the STRV 138. Alright, so let's take a look. Start up top. Alright, so we're gonna start off with, oh, I forgot this one by the way, the AMX. We're gonna start off with the AMX and the AMX 30 B2 Brennus. Oh, no, the Brennus actually we compared the last one. So the AMX 30 BZ, is it B2 or BZ? B2, sorry. It's got a 105mm, which is pretty good. It's an enemy 70 kilometers an hour, road speed is 110. It's got 7 of the frontal armor, sights on the 4, and 2 on the back, and the top of course 2 as well. Now the accuracy on it is very high, 50%, and its AP power is 12, which is medium. Suppression and HP power are pretty good as well. The offhand weapons pretty much look crappy to me, except for the NF1. Again, the NF1 is pretty good because you got an accuracy of 20 and a lot of rounds a minute. That doesn't look like a lot of rounds, but it is actually. Compared to what infantry shoots with their guns, it's pretty much the same. Only the accuracy on this one is higher. But this gun definitely does shit, the 20mm. For 50 points, this is a very good tank actually, I must say. Now let us take a look at the Leopard A5 Plus, the Australian one that was specially designed for the Australian army. It's 50 points more expensive than the AMX. It's got a 40% accuracy, and that's 10% less than the AMX 30B2. Stabilize 35%. AP power is however higher with 3 points. So that's definitely something to watch your eye on. The off-road speed is 65 kilometers and the road speed on it is 110 kilometers. It only has one off weapon with a very high accuracy and very high rate of fire for a offhand on an armored vehicle. If I have to compare these stats with only 10% less on the accuracy, I'm gonna have to go with the Leopard AS1 Plus. Simply because the armor on it is 8, 1 point higher, and the sight 3, 2, 2, which is the same as the AMX. For 15 points, this would be your better option. But then again, you are on the max out of the 65 line, or the 60 point line, around the 60 point line. So the Leopard AS1 Plus wins it at the moment. For me, that is, again. Let me see. Then we got the Chieftain MK10. It's got a 122mm round, 50% accuracy. It's high accuracy though. It's got an AP power of 16, which is very good. The speed on it, of course, is significantly reduced. Chieftains don't ride that fast. The road speed on it, however, is 110. And look at the frontal armor on this, guys. 14. The Chieftain's got very high frontal armor. Side 8, 4 on the back, and 3 on the top. And the offhand weapon is of no concern at all. It's only 40 rounds a minute. It does have a high accuracy, so yeah, the Chieftain MK10 definitely wins this. You can't, because this is lower on the line, but I prefer to keep it on the lowest 3, so the 10 to 45 points. The Chieftain is definitely winning this by far for the 60, around 60 pointers. Then we have the Leopard 1A4. 35%, well, that's 50% less if I'm correct. Check that. Yeah, that's 50% less. It's got an AP power that's slower. It only's got slightly higher speed, but the armor on it's significantly lower as well. The offhand weapon is a little bit higher on the accuracy and higher on the rate of fire. So the offhand on this MGR3 is better than the MK Chieftain. But if you have to look at stat wise, then the Chieftain does a better job on what it's supposed to be doing, taking out other armored vehicles and taking a punch. So the Chieftain wins it from the Leopard 1A4. Let me see what the next one is. The Norwegian, no, actually the Leopard, the Danish 1A3 DK. 35% accuracy, 12 AP power, only 8 rounds a minute. It's got a very high speed, 110, but again the armor is very low on it. If you look at the rate of fire on the offhand and the accuracy, that's pretty good as well, better than the Chieftain. But again, just like with the German Leopard, it does not boost up against the Chieftain what it can do. So no, not the Danish. Norwegian will be pretty much the same if I am correct. Yeah, pretty much the same as this, the Danish though. Except for the fact that the AP power is higher on this one, which is 15. The Chieftain is 16. Chieftain is 65 points, 50 points, that's 50 points less. You know what? Chieftain still wins it for me. If you are point wise looking for getting a cheap deck or want to play a tactical map where you have to watch your point, then the Norwegian Leopard will win it off the Chieftain. If you are going for 10 versus 10 or any other kind of gaming type, you want to spend the 15 extra points in order to get the frontal armor up as much as possible and the accuracy up as much as possible, as well as 1 point extra on the AP power. But for tactical battles, I would think the Norwegian tank would win this. Alright, next up is the Leopard C1. It's the Canadian. 35% accuracy, AP power only being 30. 8 on the frontal armor, 4 on the side armor, 2 on the back armor, 2 on the top. That's crappy pretty much. 600 rounds, so an accuracy of 20, so it doesn't even have the best offhand weapon as well. You know what, this is just a poor substitute for what you can get, for instance, out of the Leopard 1A1NO of the Norwegians. What else do we have? That's all. Oh yeah, the Patton. The American Patton. 105mm round, 40% accuracy. That's only 10% accuracy less than the Chieftain has. It's got an AP power of 13 though. It's 50 or 5 points cheaper than the Chieftain. So if you look overall compared to the stats, then the Chieftain does a better job, and the Patton won't win this by a long shot. Even with the offhand weapon being slightly better and shooting 4 rounds a minute more. The Chieftain would still win this, so the Patton is definitely a no-go. The Nanayon Shikie, which is the Japanese, is a 55 pointer, so it cuts right through the middle with 60 and 50. It's got an accuracy of 35 or a 55, which is actually higher than what the Chieftain has. Let me see. Chieftain only has 50, yeah. So let's compare that. AP power is only 13 though, and that's 16, it's 3 higher than that. However, it's 10 points cheaper. The frontal armor is only 6, so this is actually a glass cannon. Considering that the AP power on this is of course lower than that. But if you want to go for accuracy sniping, this is a reasonably okay tank. But I wouldn't take it. I would definitely take the Chieftain. Compared to what kind of armor it has, you really need to deploy these with 3 or 4 of them at the same time, close to each other. And that's not a tactic that I would love to have, so that's not an option for me. The last one is the STRV 103B, and that will make you that will give you 105mm round times 35. It's got an AP power of well, you better off throwing sticks and stones apparently. Accuracy is only 45%. It does have a very good offhand though. Range on it is maximized, range on the helicopters is maximized, accuracy is 40%, and the rate of fire is 315 rounds a minute for 7.62. This is pretty good. So if you want to have sort of a support tank near a anti-air, then this STRV will be your best option. It's only a 65 pointer, but regarding the range of 50 to 65 points, the Chieftain definitely 100% wins it. Now we'll get to the 20 to 45 points. We got a couple of options there. Harpoon, which is not actually an option compared to AMX-10 RC SCB. We got a AMX-30B and the AMX-30. We'll take the maximum amount of that. We've got a couple of options, so let's get over them. The AMX-10 RC SCB. It's got a 105mm as well. It's actually hardly called a tank though, since it doesn't have any tracks. Accuracy is 45% though. AP power being 12. 85 off-road, which makes it pretty good though. So we're gonna have to take a look at that, but it's only got an armor on it on 3311. The off weapon is actually pretty good as well, with the accuracy of being 20 and 600 rounds a minute. It doesn't sound as bad as it looks right here. 150 kilometers speed on road speed is very high, guys. Not even only for a tank, but it's also high for any kind of vehicle that you're deploying on ground forces. If you're gonna have to deploy something that's very cheap in a tactical battle and does the job very well, take this AMX-10 RCB SB. It's just that good. Seriously, if you have to take it from one deploy line or one reinforcement line completely into the left corner, this one gets very fast, very far. Alright, I will take the 40 pointer on the AMX-30B. Accuracy of 50, which is pretty good. It's got an AP power of only 9, so it shoots sticks and stones better than it does shells. It's got slightly higher armor though. 60 kilometers off-road, 110 on the road speed. It's got a very crappy offhand 20mm, but the NF1 is always, like you know, like you've seen before, very good. So that's the AMX-30B. If I have to choose between the two of them, depending on what kind of battle you want, I would definitely go with the AMX-10 RCSB. Alright, 45 pointer. The Centurion MKS, or MK5. It's got a 105mm as well, accuracy 45%, so that's slightly less than the AMX does, but it's got an AP power of 13 though. It's very slow off terrain, 110 on the frontal armor, so road speed is 110 kilometers and frontal armor being 9522, which is pretty good for a tank. So let's keep that one. Let's keep a close eye on the Centurion, this Danish Centurion. Then we got the Leopard here, Leopard A51. Accuracy is only 35%, AP power being only 2 points less. The frontal armor is less. Speed, off-road speed is less, or actually more if I'm correct. Yeah, more 20 more. 110 again. And the off weapon accuracy is very high on it, and the rate of fire is very high on it as well. But if I have to choose, the Danish Centurion would definitely win it stat-wise. Simply because it's got better armor, it's got a better gun, it's got better accuracy, so you definitely want to take the Centurion regarding that. But you know, we're not there yet. Let me see, what else do we have? Centurion, the Canadian Centurion, that will probably not be that good as well. AP power being 11, 35 kilometers an hour off-road even. And the rate of fire on that is scrappy, but it does do the job pretty okay. The frontal armor on it is pretty okay as well, but if I have to choose the Leopard, the Centurion, this Danish Centurion MK5 2DM is actually better. But the Canadians have an Centurion as well, but the AP power only being 8, I'm not even considering that one. So, Chieftain, again the Chieftain, 40% accuracy, AP power of 14, 11 frontal armor. Let's take a look and compare that with the Danish Centurion. This one is 45 points, so that's better frontal armor, better overall stats. And it's going 5 kilometers slower though. You know what? The Chieftain wins it. Again. The Chieftain wins it again. Alright, what else do we have? We still have to go over the Japanese and the South Korean line, the German line. 35 pointer Leopard 1A2. Accuracy 35%, frontal armor is significantly decreased, AP power is slower. The speed however is higher on it, and the offhand is pretty good, but the Chieftain still wins it for 45 points. But they have a, let me see, the Danish Leopard 1A3 DK, that's the 50 pointer, so that's not going in this range. This will be a lower tank. The 40 pointer M48 A5K of South Korea. It's got 40% accuracy, AP power of 13, but the armor on it is just meh. 7 rounds a minute only. It's got 50 kilometers off-road and 110 of course on the road. The rate of fire on it is reasonably okay, but you know, this is just a jack of all trade tank. For 40 points you will definitely get better on the Chieftain. The 40 point Rice Patton and the Sheridan, we'll take that in a moment. 40 accuracy, AP power of 11, frontal armor is 9, however the Chieftain has got better. So that's not optional, but it is slightly faster. The accuracy and the offhand Browning is pretty good as well. But for 5 points more you get better, way better overall stats. I imagine that this is not going to be any difference. Yeah, that is. Alright, so what do we have here? This is a 152mm heat round with Shilligan heat guided missiles. This is kind of a weird tank. Oh, it's an amphibious. This one is amphibious though. So this is totally apart from the line. This is an amphibious and it looks pretty okay. It's got an accuracy of 30% though on the AH power 4 and the AP power being 11, and it's got no armor whatsoever. But it does have heat guided self-gauss missiles, and it's got 7 of them even. The accuracy on the offhand Browning, of course, 15% at 500. So yeah, no. Chieftain still wins it, but this one doesn't count with that. What else do we have? Let me see. The Nanayon Shiki. 45% AP power 13, but only got frontal armor 6. 55 kilometers, so it's almost the same speed as that, so that's not an option. STRV 104, 35%, AP power 13, frontal armor 10. Interesting. Chieftain, frontal armor 11. Okay. Well, at least it's got a good offhand weapon again. 5% less accuracy. Yeah, Chieftain wins it again, guys. British do make very good tanks apparently. Yep. Yeah, pretty much the Chieftain wins it again. So if you look down at what you get so far, it's the Kiyomaru Shiki, the Chieftain MK2, the Chieftain MK10, or Chieftain MK11, sorry, Chieftain MK10, which you get 12 of, and the Chieftain MK5, which is for the 45 point range. And now we'll get to your expanded tanks, which are the 10 to 15 point or 20 point range. We got a couple of those. 15 points for the Centurion 84mm. We got a Centurion here. We got a Centurion here. We got a KPZ M48 A2G. Jesus, who thinks of these names? And we got the M24 Norwegian, the Japanese M41A A1. We got an M41A1 of the Australians. Norwegians have one, so is that gonna be the same stats? No, it's not. The Norwegians slightly have better stats. Okay. Just scroll that quickly over. Riku Shiki for 10 points, and for the 20 points the STRV. So let's take a quick look on the expendable tanks, the 10 pointers. First off, the Centurion 84mm. It's got an 84mm round times 40. Accuracy only 25%, but you cannot expect that high from a 15 point tank. The AP power being only 8, frontal armor is quite high though, so that's on every Centurion since the British made the Centurion. Its off-road speed is only 35 kilometers and 110 on the road. 9522 on armor, and the 9 is something we're definitely gonna take a look at on the other tanks. Now let me see if there's a different stats on the different stats on the Centurion MK51 of the Australians. There is, because they are using a GPMG. So the Centurion currently is better than the Danish Centurion 84mm, simply because it's got slightly higher rate of fire on its offhand. Alright, then we got the Canadian Centurion, which has a slightly higher, less round a minute, because that's the same as the Danish Centurion. So the Australian Centurion still wins it, MK51. What else do we have? Oh wait, I'm gonna have to compare that with the 20 pointer here though. Alright, so there's a 20 pointer Centurion MK6 on the Canadians. It's got accuracy of 30, which is 5% higher than the Centurion MK51. AP power of 10, frontal armor is 9. Rate of fire is lower though, but then again the accuracy on it is 20%. HC power is pretty good. 35 kilometers only on off-road. I think that one is faster. No, it's the same. So the Centurion MK6 actually wins it at the moment. But then again, it's 5 points more expensive. What do we have here? You know, to be fair, I'm gonna compare this with the KPZ M48. So let's take the 25 pointers in range as well. And it looks to me that regarding that, 7 rounds a minute. The AP power being higher on it, but the stats on it, yeah, the KPZ 48 A2G2 is better. Simply because of the rate of fire, the AP power being higher. No, it's not better, sorry, it's not better. I'm looking at it the wrong way because of the armor on it. So, yeah, you can spend 5 points more, but then you'll get a class cannon. It's got only 1 point more AP power. So, no. The Canadian Centurion MK6 is definitely better on that. But the Leopard 1A1 is not better either. That's kind of weird. It's even got worse armor on that. I wouldn't expect it of a Leopard though. But let's take a look at the Norwegian then. The Norwegian isn't that good either for that. Well, that's kind of weird. 10 pointer tanks. That's not even Scorpion Light, which was made by the French. You know what, I'm looking quickly over this cheap El Cheapo tanks, but nothing can beat it actually, if I look at it. 7 rounds a minute. Well, this does have an accuracy of 40%. Only one slightly more point. But it's got so low armor, that's the problem. You want to keep your tanks alive as long as possible. Is this really only a 20 pointer tank with 9 armor? Looks to me like that. How about the Swedish then? Yeah, we got a comparison finally. We got something better than that. So this one has got an accuracy of 30%, AP power of 10, HE power of 3, suppression of 121. Again with the Swedish, the off weapon is very good. It's got a frontal armor of 9522, or frontal armor, it's got armor of 9522. Its strength is 10, but that doesn't matter. 35 km speed off-road and 110 on the road. If I have to compare it... Oh. Alright, Swedish wins it. For once the Swedish tanks win it. The Swedish tank win it simply because the offhand is way better than that. And the stats for the main weapon, which is the 105mm, is just the same. It's got the same armor on it. So yeah, the Swedish win it with 20 pointer. The 10 pointers, however, if you're doing tactical points, if you want to waste your points by sending tanks into battle, then all of the armor, you'll get a maximum amount of armor on it with only, what is it, 4 or 6 I think on a 10 pointer tank. So you might as well spend 10 point extra on getting the Swedish STRV. So there you have it. This is the top of the line point wise that you want to take in your tank deck. The Kiyomari being the top tank, tier tank, best stats on high end, and is with 5 points also the most expensive tank in the game, or not in the game, at least in the normal decks. Then because I imagine that you're gonna have to have prototypes at some point if you're taking a nationality, so we're not taking that in account. The Chieftain, after that MK11, the British made actually 3 tanks for 80 points. So then after the third one is going to be the 65 pointers, the Chieftain MK10. Stat wise that will be the best. You're getting 12 of those, excuse me. And of course the Chieftain MK5, which will be 45 points, got the best stats overall of all tanks regarding those point wise. And as last, your wastable, expendable tanks, the Swedish STRV 102's got the best stats. There you have it. These are the tank wise the best point spendage that you can have with the maximum amount of stats that you can have. Thank you all for watching. If you would like to know more, you can find us on our website www.teampropixel.com, and you can find us live streaming all 7 of us at www.twitch.tv/teampropixel. And of course, don't forget to subscribe on this channel and like this video, as well of course as share it with your friends, buddies. And I'll see you on the next episode, which will be episode 5 in Recon. Alright, until next time, see you all another time.